Here's San Diego. Those are the names. Here's San Diego at 9-7, and we well documented last year. Man, they're such a good team. You know, this year they're not going to have a schedule that's murderous. This year, it seemed like they were always going cross country, playing teams after buys, and that's not an excuse. It's just a fact. Admittedly, they're going to play with Phillip Rivers, and you just heard Sean Merriman say, as good as LaDainian Tomlinson is, they're going to have to be a little more, run the ball. They have to be. You can't expect to open up everything in the playbook. Now, what do you need to do? You need to block for them a little bit.
You need to play better defense.
And you need to play a little better defense. And they've been really, you could use help on the line, but, they've been looking for those corners for a while. There's one that's a big gamble out there who has like no track record of. Antonio Cromartie. But I have a feeling that if you're pushing, saying, look, San Diego gambled with Castillo in the first round last year, right, and they certainly dialed in with Merriman. I think they gamble with Cromartie.
Well,
this would be about a time for them.
And A.J. Smith, their general manager, has never been afraid to do what he thinks right. Now, Antonio Cromartie is a guy, one of the most fascinating stories in the draft is I'll tell you about a guy who did not play his junior year because of a knee surgery. As a sophomore, didn't really start because they were loyal to their seniors. And yet, I heard general managers tell me and some coaches say, this might be the one guy who could cover a Terrell Owens in this league because he is big and fast and athletic.
And you won't believe what the fallback plan is. If he's just, an average corner, if he doesn't develop and maximize that ability at corner, the fallback is he could be a wide receiver. He came there playing that position at a high school, 6'2", 209 pounds with a 44-inch vertical jump, and his ball skills, the hands he showed in the workout were wide receiver-like. That's why people think, hey, if he doesn't develop a corner, move him to the offensive side of the ball.
And I mentioned Terrell Owens about covering a Randy Moss.
And Keenan McCardell is getting old out there, very old. If you got a young guy playing quarterback, Phillip Rivers, give him someone to throw the football to.
Yeah, they lost Caldwell a little bit, but they got a tight end that's okay.
Yeah, he's very good.
Although you don't want,
they got a running back
very good.
Although I always say this, you don't want the tight end, and however good they are, to be the leading receiver, the best receiver on your football team. You do not want that out of the
because that means everybody's playing tight to the line.
That's correct.
Everybody's playing tight to the line of scrimmage. A guy like Jackson can open this thing up.
Well, here are the guys: LaDainian Tomlinson, the running back, unparalleled in the league, and Antonio Gates, 1,100 yards from the tight end position with 89 catches off the basketball. What a story that is. Yeah. What a story that is. And again, it's Phillip Rivers. So now, see, we're doing it the old-fashioned way. So for the Vince Youngs, who's going to sit for a year or so, and who knows what liner it'll be, and Cutler will certainly sit for a little while, Phillip Rivers sat for 2 years. So now this first draft pick of 2 years ago for San Diego will finally take shape. We know what Roethlisberger turned out like. We know what Eli is going to turn out like. Maybe this is an odd year 2 years ago that all those first-round quarterbacks up high turn out big. But we don't know with Rivers. Let's see if San Diego makes the gamble, Mel. Let's go up to the commissioner and see what the Tijuana taxi drove in.
With the 19th choice in the 2006 NFL Draft, the San Diego Chargers select Antonio Cromartie, defensive back, Florida State.
Is he healthy and ready to go? That's my question.
Everybody said, boom, within the next couple months, he would be football ready. He was getting close, maybe 2 months away, but this kid missed all of 2005 with a knee injury he sustained back in August. So this is a kid who didn't have a lot of starts, didn't have a lot of experience, was a wide receiver and defensive back in high school, but when you watched him when he was on the field, he played in all 13 games back in 2003, then had 4 picks as a sophomore. Here at Sonoris Moss again. You see the ability. No separation there with Moss and Cromartie. Here's against West Virginia, and you see the ability here. These are unique skills for a 6'2", 210-pounder. As I said, a 44 vertical. This is against the Clemson Tigers again, making a play and showing hands. That was against Irish Curry. So here's a kid who could play wide receiver if need be down the road. But right now, I had people say, hey, if he would have been healthy, he could have been a top 3 to 5 pick in the first round. Certainly the expectation is that he could be one of the elite corners in this league where the rule changes favor the wide receivers dramatically. So there's no lockdown, shutdown corner. He may be the closest thing to that. So if you're sitting there saying, okay, 4 Seminole defensive players already selected, what happened to the Seminoles? Well, their offense had issues. Quarterback, offensive line problems. That's why they didn't play to the level of maybe this defensive talent. But his speed, his athleticism, remarkable. And you're getting him at 19, so the risk-reward, obviously, at 19 is what you're looking at.
What happened to these guys in that Orange Bowl? That was like a pinball game, wasn't it?
Well, he wasn't on the field.
That's true. Well, we know that. That's true. So, hey, look, defensive backs now. We said the run might start. Here we are. We've had 19 picks, 5 of them DBs, including 3 of the last 5 picks. And, Mel, you mentioned it. Mort, you mentioned it. Only twice before in the history of the common draft, i.e. since 67, has one school had 4 guys from one side of the ball drafted in the first round. Sims, Wembley, Bunkley, and Cromartie from Florida State on defense. In 04, the U, Miami, and 4 defensive players, Sean Taylor, Vilma, DJ Williams, and Vince Wilfork. In 68, USC had Ron Yeri, Mike Taylor, Mike Colero, McCullough on offense. So Florida State doing that. And now next up will be Kansas City, and we'll tell their story in a minute. But let's go back to NFL Live with Trey and the gang.
All right, Boomer, thanks very much. Welcome back to the NFL Live set. Trey here with Stink, Haji, and Jaws. Trust me, we're on a first-name basis. Guys, look, Antonio Cromartie's name has been coming up the last couple of weeks. Stock has been rising up the draft board, but he hadn't played football in a year. Is this a reach for San Diego to take this pick now?
Oh, absolutely, it is a reach. You got a guy coming off a serious knee injury, and he doesn't have the playing experience that you'd like to project him to the National Football League level. Certainly have a guy that was a track star, can time great, but people I've spoken to around the league that are good evaluators of the cornerback position have a problem with the guy. He lacks technique, doesn't look in the backfield, doesn't turn those hips like you see the cornerbacks turn. So I think there are clearly some concerns about the abilities of Cromartie as you project him to the NFL.
Jaws, interesting. This is a nasty word in the National Football League, and I'm about to use it. Potential. Potential is a nasty word because, you know, you start looking and evaluating players by the way they run 40s, by the way they vertical jump, by the way all the statistical things, the things you can quantify, and you don't have enough film on this kid to say, yes, I think he translates. You already heard Mel Kiper talk about, hey, if he's not a good enough quarterback, he's athletic enough to play wide receiver. Are you kidding me? You've got to, in the first round, if you're going after a corner, Merrill, you've got to make sure the kid can play. There's not enough film. There's too many unknowns. You're based on potential.
But what tape there was, and we were able to watch, there's studying him, he is a very dangerous pick for a couple of reasons. When you study him on tape, he's playing against some awful quarterbacks. We've seen a highlight package. Those highlight packages are not great corner play. The quarterbacks are literally throwing it to him. He is not making great plays on the football. When you translate to the National Football League, you're playing against outstanding quarterbacks, and that's the one thing that's hard when you translate these guys. They don't play against great wide receivers all the time. They don't play against great quarterbacks all the time. So when they make some plays in the highlight package we saw, those were actually poorly thrown footballs that won't happen at the next level.
It is the hardest position to evaluate for the draft because these guys almost always play off. You never see the press bump and run position, and you don't see them playing against quality wide receivers.
Well, clearly, though, whether or not this was the right pick, this was the issue for the San Diego Chargers. They were number 1 against the run defensively last season and 28th against the pass. When people say the Chargers were the best team not to make the playoffs, that secondary might have been the reason why they've been trying to fix it for the last few years. Is Cromartie the fix for the San Diego pass defense? Let's over to Susie Calverno with someone who may have an answer to that.
We'll go to the man himself. Antonio Cromartie joins us from Tallahassee, Florida. Antonio, we know you only had one career start, missed all of 05 with the knee injury. How did you stay in touch with your team, first of all?
How can I hear you? Say that again?
How did you stay connected with your team, having missed all of last year?
Basically, I mean, for me, I just try to stay just in shape and everything. Just basically just work hard through everything that I did throughout with my injury and everything, and just push myself through everything.
So, given having missed the 05 season, why did you decide to come out early?
Basically, the reason I came out was basically because of what happened back at home with family problems and financial problems. So by me being the man in the house, I just felt like the best thing for me was to come out and support my family.
Coaches that you've met with, what have they said to you about what you will have to do to make that transition into the NFL?
Basically, I mean, just staying, working on my back pedal, working on my technique a little more. That was the main thing that they was talking about, and just make sure I was wrap up and when I make my tackles.
So what are your thoughts on facing a guy like Randy Moss, who happens to be in your division now?
That's gonna be great facing up against Randy Moss. I'm just trying to come in and just work hard every single day, and when that time comes to face Randy Moss, and then we will see what happens on Sunday.
Antonio, congratulations.
Thank you.
The 2006 NFL Draft rolls on. The Kansas City Chiefs on the clock.